Chapter 10. Hoofs in the Dark. That afternoon when they came home from school, the snow was melting in a sudden thaw, and the sky was blue above the bare branches of the trees. Caddie skipped as she walked, still feeling the high elation she had felt as she held the flag. 12 years old she was. Time to begin to be a young lady, Mother said. But Caddie did not think so, and Father's smiling eyes were still on her side. "Give the child time, Harriet, give the child time," he had said at breakfast. "We are long enough grown up, my dear, when the time comes. Let the child get her health." "Health?" sniffed Mother. "She's simply bursting with it. When I was her age, I could make bread and jelly and 6 kinds of cakes, including plum, not to mention all the samplers I had stitched, which anyone may see if they care to look in my marriage chest. And what does Caddie know how to do?" "I can plow," said Caddie with a twinkle in her eye, for she knew that her mother was not as indignant as she sounded. "Plow!" exclaimed Mrs. Woodlawn, rolling her eyes and holding up her hands. "Yes, my daughter knows how to plow." "Let her have a little more time, Mother," said Mr. Woodlawn quietly. "She'll see her way soon." But when they reached home, the conversation of the morning had been entirely forgotten. Mrs. Woodlawn stood by the kitchen window with an abstracted look on her face. Her sleeves were rolled up as if she had been about to make biscuits, and in her hand she held an open letter. As the children entered, Mrs. Conroy was wiping a tear from the corner of her eye with her apron. "'Tis too bad, Mum," she was saying, "and him so good and faithful too, and never would touch pork neither, but looked at me so reproachful like whenever I offered it to him. Poor love!" Mrs. Woodlawn turned at the sound of the children's entrance. There was something tender and sad in her face for them, and she went up and kissed each one on the forehead. Most often she was too busy about her household to greet them with kisses when they came in from school. "What is it, Mother?" asked Caddie, sensing something wrong. "It's a letter from Uncle Edmund, Caddie," replied her mother slowly. "I must tell you children that I was wrong to let Edmund take Nero. I knew it at the time, but I let him persuade me." "Mother!" "Uncle Edmund says that Nero is lost, that he was very unhappy in the city, that he has run away." There was a little catch in her usually calm, crisp voice. She held out the letter. "Nero won't come back next fall with Uncle Edmund." "Oh, that was a question. Nero won't come back next fall with Uncle Edmund?" cried Tom, unable to accept this news. "No, Tom, Nero is lost," repeated Mother. Caddie snatched the letter and read. It was all as Mother said. "Terribly sorry, Harriet," the letter ran. "I shouldn't have taken him, I suppose, but one doesn't foresee such things. He was most unhappy here in the city. Missed the sheep and the children, probably. I kept him tied, but one day he got away and was gone like a streak. I assure you that I have done everything in my power to find him. It is several weeks now since he left, and I have only now given up hope of finding him. I write all this with the greatest regret, for I know how fond you all were of Nero. When I come in the fall, I shall try to bring a puppy with me to take his place." "A puppy!" cried Caddie, flinging the letter down and setting her muddy foot upon it. "A puppy, any old puppy, to take the place of Nero!" She burst into tears and rushed upstairs to throw herself onto her bed and bury her head in her pillow, where her sobs could not be heard by the others. All the loneliness she had felt for Nero since he had gone away overwhelmed her now in a great flood. Nero, whose eyes full of sympathy, whose wagging tail and warm tongue had always sustained her in her moments of unhappiness and doubt. Nero was gone, and now she would never see him again. Worst of all, Nero had been lonely for her. He had been unhappy and frightened in the city. The thought of that hurt Caddie more than her own loneliness. Mrs. Woodlawn came up and sat on the foot of her bed. "I am sure, Caddie," she said softly, "that he will find a good home. Anybody would like Nero, and he could soon find his way to a farm where there are sheep and children." But Caddie was inconsolable. When they came up again to fetch Caddie down to supper, she was sound asleep, worn out with crying. Mother thought it best to let her sleep as long as she would. It was only when Hetty and Minnie came to bed that Caddie roused herself. She felt stiff and cold and a little dazed, but she was extremely hungry. She went downstairs and stood by the dining room fire, warming her back and rubbing her hands together. On a corner of the table nearest the fire, Mother had spread a napkin over the red and white checked homespun cloth. A place for one was neatly laid, and there was a bowl of warm milk, a plate of bread, a nicely polished red apple, and a plate of cold meat. It was not turkey. All of the children had gone to bed. Only Father and Mother sat on beside the fire, each busy with some evening occupation. "Sit down, dear, and eat," said Mother quietly. Caddie obeyed, and there was no other sound in the room but the ticking of clocks and the occasional crackling of the fire. But something warm and peaceful and comforting seemed to flow through the quiet room and make everything right again. Caddie had just finished eating and was about to place one of the silver spoons which Mother had brought with her from Boston on the plate beside her bowl. Instead, she held it suspended a moment in the air while she listened. There was another sound in the quiet room. It was the distant sound of hoofbeats on the road. Father and Mother had heard it too. Father went to the window and looked out. Mother sat still, listening, her face turned toward the road from Dunville, her knitting needles idle in her lap. People did not ride abroad at night in February without some good reason in those days. The sound of hoofs came more distinctly now. Someone was riding rapidly in spite of the darkness. "They're coming here," said Mrs. Woodlawn, jumping up. "One of the neighbors is sick, perhaps. I must get my shawl and bonnet." The hoofs sounded to the very door, then stopped. Then someone was knocking loudly and urgently on the door. Father went and opened it. A cold wind blew in, and Caddie could see the pale face of a man beyond Father's shoulder. She brought the lamp to light them. The man was Melvin Kent from the other side of Dunville. "I don't want to alarm you, Woodlawn," he said, "but there's a serious rumor going around. The Indians—" "Just a moment, Kent," said Father, and he stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Caddie set the lamp again on the table. Mother had come back with her shawl and bonnet. She and Caddie looked at each other silently, their eyes frightened and questioning. They stood together near the table, listening to the rumble of men's voices outside. All the peace and friendly security of the quiet room had flown out into the February darkness when Father had opened the door. It seemed a very long time before Father came back. His face was grave, but outwardly he was as calm as usual. "What is it, Johnny? What is it?" cried Mrs. Woodlawn, unable to bear the suspense any longer. "Nothing serious, I hope," said her husband, laying his hand absently along Caddie's shoulder as he spoke. "A man from the country west of here came into the tavern tonight and told the men that the Indians are gathering for an uprising against us." "Massacre," breathed Mother, laying her hands against her heart. Her face had gone quite white. "No, Harriet, not that word," said Father quietly. "Not yet. I hope that this is only a tavern rumor and nothing more. Many a fool who has had too much to drink will start a rumor. I am willing to stake my farm and a good deal that I hold dear besides on the honor and friendliness of the Indians hereabouts. Still, we must keep clear heads and be ready for emergencies. Whatever happens, the white settlers must stand together. I have told Kent that the neighbors may gather here." "Yes, yes," said Mrs. Woodlawn. "We can house them better than anyone. How soon will they come?" "They'll begin to arrive by daybreak, I imagine." The white look left Mrs. Woodlawn's face. Now there was something to be done. "Daybreak," she said. She looked at the clock. It was 10 minutes past 11. "I'll call Katie Conroy and we'll begin to bake," she cried. "No telling how long they'll be here, and they'll be hungry. We can shake down pallet beds in the parlor for the women and children. The men can bunk in the hay if those wicked redskins don't fire it before they have a chance to bunk. Fetch me 6 strings of dried apples from the storeroom, Johnny, and a bucket of water from the spring. I know. We can use up some of the turkeys on the neighbors. I'm sure 'twill be a great treat to them, as are not accustomed to excellent fowls, excellently cooked. Besides, if this thaw continues, my beautiful birds will be lost, and heaven knows if the savages come I wouldn't have them eat my turkeys." "What, Caddie, are you still here? Get to bed as fast as you can, child. I'll call you at daybreak." Until next time.